Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elgin, and in this video we will discuss what is going to happen to the property market in 2026 and what buyers must know before prices shift. So we are already in March and the first quarter is going to end really soon. We have a very serious headache right now in the Middle East because the global oil supply is choked because of the ongoing war between US, Israel and Iran. All right. So oil prices have already hit above $100 per barrel, and it is projected that the global oil supply will drop about 8 million barrels a day. With that in mind, IEA has already agreed to release about 400 million barrels of oil, but that is only sufficient to buffer the supply for about 2 months. So after that 2 months, if the war is still ongoing, then the world will really face a severe shortage in oil. And unfortunately, Asia is the most dependent on oil and gas coming from the Middle East. As war is generally inflationary in nature, we can expect that the US Federal Reserve will look to increase interest rates, to combat inflation. And for those of you out there who have yet to lock in your interest rates for your housing loans, I think it may be time for you to consider doing so. I've also just set up a Telegram group where I'll be sending the latest property market updates, analyst reports, and research reports, and of course on new launches as well. So if you are keen to get the latest updates, do scan the QR code and join the Telegram group for more updates. Right, and for personalized consultations, you can scan the QR code on the right to WhatsApp me. So let's start with this. 2026 is shaping up to be a very different year for the Singapore property market. No, prices are not crashing, but they are unlikely to move as they did in the last few years. And that's exactly why many buyers are at risk of making the wrong decisions. And it's not because the market is bad, but because the rules are quietly changing. And as we look at this chart, I'm going to call the period of 2021 to 2025 the last cycle, okay, which was driven by the pent-up post-COVID demand, limited supply, and strong rental growth. And in 2026, actually, most of these tailwinds are either normalizing or reversing, which means that buyers can no longer rely on market momentum alone. So from this chart, you can very clearly see that there is a very strong uptrend in prices from 2021, right up to February 2025. And as you can see from February 2025 right up to Feb 2026, prices have been transacting in a range over here, right? There is no clear signs of uptrend or downtrend, which is, I think, it shows that the market is stabilizing, normalizing, and buyers and sellers have started to reach an agreement. And if you look at this chart, right, from the last quarter of 2025, you can see the monthly volume actually reduce consecutively, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for 5 months consecutively. And in 2026, it's kind of inch up in February, kind of slightly inch up. And right now on the ground, if you look closely, depending on which area you're looking at or which project you are looking at, be it HDB resale or resale condominiums, all right, you'll see that there is a oversupply in certain projects in certain areas, and that is where you can come in and negotiate harder to try to get as close to the price that you want. And the next trend that I want to highlight is that there will be bigger differences between a good project and an average project. So there is actually less room for you to just buy anything and then expect to win. And let's look at two case studies where we'll compare two projects side by side to see how this is reflected in their prices. Okay, so first up, we have Sterling Residences and Normanton Park. So Sterling Residences TOP'd in 2022 and it has 1,200 over units. Normanton Park TOP'd in 2023 and has 1,800 over units. Both projects are in the RCR. So first thing, we will measure them against the same starting point, which is in 2021. So if you look at their price difference back then, this is about $300, all right, in price difference, and the gap is slightly narrow. So over the years starting in 2024, you see the price gap actually starts to widen. All right, and this is more significant in 2026 itself. So the end point in 2026, you look at the PSF difference, this is at $448 already. Alright, in terms of PSF difference is $448. Sterling residences at $2,448, whereas non-Benton Park, the average PSF transacted is at $2,000. So overall, owners at Sterling residences are enjoying at least a 20% gain in their property prices, or about $406 per square foot, whereas for Normanton Park it's about $206 per square foot. So this is almost a 2 times difference in price growth. So for the next case study, we will go to District 13, also in the City Fringe area, RCR, where we will look at Park Colonial and St. Reed's. St. Reed's TOP in 2016, it has 214 units, whereas Park Colonial TOP in 2022 and has 805 units. So same thing if you were a buyer back in 2018, alright, and you were considering to buy in District 13 in Potong Pasir, so will you go for Park Colonial or would you buy St. Reed's? Okay, so let's look at the price difference back then in 2018. Okay, St. Reed's was transacting an average of $1,555, whereas Park Colonial, they had an average price of $1,748. So the price difference is about $200. Okay, and over the years you'll see that their prices actually start to diverge. So as we measure these two endpoints in 2026, St. Reed's had an average PSF of $1,772, and Park Colonial had an average PSF of $2,299. So this looks to be a price gap of at least $500. So over 8 years, St. Reed's had a price growth of $217 per square foot, whereas for Park Colonial, it had a price growth of $551 per square foot. So for Park Colonial owners, in terms of PSF, their price growth is actually 2 times better than St. Reed's. Well-located and well-positioned homes still transact well, but poorly positioned properties with the wrong quantum, wrong layout, and the wrong timing are starting to struggle. Alright, so let's move on to another case study. Let's move on to a very interesting area, which is Lento. I would say that the new launch units in this area are almost fully sold, and there are 2 upcoming new launches in Lento, which is the Lento Gardens parcel and the Lento Central parcel by Kingsford and Guaco Land respectively. So people were previously saying that this area is oversupplied, but eventually all the units were absorbed rather easily. So new buyers that are looking at the Lento area will actually face a dilemma. Should I buy a new launch or a resale in Lento? Because Lento Modern has already TOP'd and Lento Gardens is launching really soon. So which is a better choice for them? And owners of the other Lento projects who are looking to sell at TOP, they also have to compete not only with resale supply, but the new supply pipeline. So for buyers, don't buy based on the 2021 to 2023 market logic, right? Don't always assume that prices will always go up or that a new launch is naturally safe. These ideas are not wrong, but they are incomplete. And why do I say so? Because in a slower market and in an area with a higher supply of units, your entry price, okay, and your exit pool and your holding strategy matters a lot. So you have to do a proper analysis of this entire area to make sure you buy the best product available in Lento. Okay. Next up, let's look at the supply of newly completed private residential units for the years 2026 to 2029. So the supply of TOP units in 2026 is one of the lowest in recent years. So in 2023, we actually had 19,291 units that were completed, followed by 12,824 units in 2024 and 10,044 units in 2025. So that will give us a total of 42,000 units in just 3 years, right? So as you can see, the higher supply from 2023 to 2025 actually helped to mitigate growth in both resale and rental prices. So supply of newly completed units is expected to climb in 2027 until 2029. And what this means is that we are likely to see more units flowing into the resale market, all right, during these 3 years. And this will help to stabilize prices. And so what I think is that, prices in terms of rental and resale price going forward, at least until 2029, we are unlikely to see any significant uptrend unless there is a very strong demand that will outstrip this supply. So next up, we have a list of upcoming new launches that will launch within the next 6 months. So if you're a buyer looking to buy a new launch or maybe even a resale development, it is also good to be aware of the estimated launch prices for these projects so that you can position yourself well in this market. So let's say you're buying a resale project, right? And this project, let's say Pinery, all right, launches at $2,500 per square foot. You can expect owners at Treasure at Tampines to start to ask for higher prices to close up the gap with Pinery residents. So definitely it's good to be aware of these launch prices. And if you want more info or want in-depth analysis, feel free to contact me. So let's go through the list. All right, Revel is an EC. This is in Tampines itself, near Tampines Safra. So Revel and Pinery residences, they're actually located very close to each other, also both in Tampines, all right, just one street away. And Tengah Garden Residences, this is in the west side of Singapore, in Tengah itself, beside the Tengah Garden MRT. And of course, City this is a food factory, we'll skip this. Vela Bay, this is in Bayshore Road, okay, one of the highly anticipated projects in Bayshore, which is directly connected to the MRT and will also offer buyers panoramic sea views as well. So Hudson Place is in Media Circle. This is the second launch in that area, which is after Bloomsbury. Okay, Lento Gardens Residences by Kingsford Group and Natura Collection. This is a boutique development by Aurum Gravis. Okay, and former Thomson View is another highly anticipated project as well. Okay, this is in Thomson by UOL and CapitaLand. Right, they have actually pushed back the launch date to the third quarter of 2026. So we have come to the end of the video, and whether you're looking to buy a property or sell a property, please remember to contact me. Take care everyone and see you in the next one.